think so, but I'm not happy that Israel's going out now. There was one rocket that I guess was fired overboard. It was after the time limit, and it missed its target. And now Israel's going out. These guys got to calm down. It's ridiculous. I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either. All I do is play both sides. I'm going now, as you know, to NATO. Some of you are going with me, and I think it's going to be successful. We'll see. I'll let you know.
Are you going to be the agreement? It's a new dawn in the Middle East. Thanks to the agreement you managed to achieve. What are your future plans for the region, for Saudi Arabia, Israel, Gaza, the hostages?
Look, you're asking me about women in the Middle East. It's getting a lot better. Things are happening at a high level. As you know, Saudi Arabia's done a really good job. It's coming out far faster than I thought. So we're very happy about what's happening with women in the Middle East.
No, I'm talking about a new dawn in the Middle East that you managed to achieve last night.
Yeah.
The region is going to a new place with this agreement. Can you tell us what's your future plans for Gaza, for the hostages?
Yeah. It's a new dawn. I appreciate the question. You're very nice. Who are you?
Thank you. I'm Neria Kraus from Israeli Channel 13 News.
Well, we have to have Israel calm down because they went on a mission this morning. I got to get Israel to calm down now.
Did you get to speak with the Prime Minister? Did you talk to Prime Minister Netanyahu last night?
I speak to everybody.
You urge both sides not to violate the ceasefire, but reports coming from the region suggest that the sides accuse each other for violating the ceasefire. So
I think they both violated it. I don't think I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all, and I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see if I can stop it, okay?
Have you spoken to him this morning? How confident are you that
I think it's been completely demolished. I think the reason we're here is because those pilots, those B-2 pilots, did an unbelievable job. And you know, the fake news, like CNN in particular, they're trying to say, well, I agree that it was destroyed, but maybe not that destroyed. You know what they're doing? They're really hurting great pilots that put their lives in the line. CNN is scum, and so is MSDNC. They're all, and frankly, the networks aren't much better. It's all fake news, but they should not have done that. Those pilots hit their targets. Those targets were obliterated, and the pilots should be given credit. They're not after the pilots, they're after me. They want to try and demean.
You don't believe that Iran can rebuild its nuclear program?
No, Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there? Absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine. They hit late in the evening. It was dark with no moon, and they hit that target with every one of those things, and that place is gone. But when I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks, and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. I think these guys really, these networks and these cable networks are real losers. You really are. You're real losers.
Israel says that they violated the peace.
You're gutless losers. I say that to CNN because I watch it. I have no choice. I got to watch that garbage. It's all garbage. It's all fake news. But I think CNN is a gutless group of people, and the people that run it, nobody even knows it's been sold so many times, but the people that run it ought to be ashamed. MSDNC, a guy named Brian Roberts, he heads it. He's a disgrace. He's a weak, pathetic disgrace.
Israel says that Iran violated the peace agreement and the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Do you have to respond to Iran on this?
You don't know what the fuck.
to have a short bilat. And of course, you will have many meetings today and tomorrow, and a dinner tonight. We have an important summit coming up, including important decisions on Ukraine, which is really building on Washington, the summit last year, where we decided that there is this irreversible path for Ukraine into NATO. And we're building that bridge as we speak. I made yesterday an announcement that European and Canadian allies have now pledged more than 35 billion euros in support for Ukraine, which is more than last year, because last year, for the full year, it was over 50 billion. Now, before the 1st of July, it is already 35 billion. So we can safely assume that for the full year, it will be more than last year. And then, of course, I cannot disclose anything about the summit declaration, but we can be safe to assume that in the summit declaration there will be important language about Ukraine and the support for Ukraine, also financially, going forward. And this is important, because what we have seen over the last couple of weeks is unacceptable. It is Russia starting 3.5 years ago this totally unprovoked war against Ukraine, the full onslaught. They already started in 2014, but the full onslaught starting in February 2022. And now, the last couple of weeks, these indiscriminate attacks on innocent civilians living in cities, living in communities in Ukraine, who go about their daily lives and get killed or seriously wounded because of these Russian drones and whatever. So this is terrible. So everybody's very motivated. Please understand that. I hear from all the allies to keep you strong, to keep you in the fight, and to bring this terrible war to a durable and lasting peace. So again, Volodymyr, thank you for being here, and you are among friends here.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, dear Mark. First of all, thank you for invitation to NATO Summit. I'm happy that to be here, and that summit is in Netherlands, big our friend, and I'm very thankful for your participation and your personal involvement. Yes, and really, I always counted on it and count, and I'm very happy that we are on a constant line, on direct line, bilateral, yes, by phone, yes, always about what we need, urgent needs, like it was when you was a Prime Minister, and now when you're a secretary. I'm happy that we have such relations. And also the decision of Washington Summit, which been last year, very important that this direction is not changing. Thank you so much. Thank you that you mentioned it. About it, we still need air defense, and we still have support on this direction from the partners, and really count on continuation, and also co-production and big military support that you said about it. Thank you so much. 35+. So this is very important things, very important signals. I'm thankful for our strong friendship to you and to all allies. Thank you. Thanks so much.
We go there, eh? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
don't know what to do with the weather all of a sudden. Yeah. Is it February?
welcome to the President of the European Commission. You will talk to the room later, but we're very pleased to have you here. In these times of geopolitical tensions, this summit focuses on unity, partnership, and shared transatlantic values. We have an ambitious agenda, and this forum is an integral part of that. We also focus on rebalancing Europe's role within NATO. And we focus on innovation, learning the lessons from the brave struggle of Ukraine fighting Russian aggression. And finally, we focus on new partnerships between governments, industries, and ecosystems, including, of course, innovation. And to open this afternoon session, I would like to ask Minister Ruben Brekelmans to join us, the Dutch Minister of Defense. Please give him a warm applause. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, industry leaders, distinguished guests, on behalf of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to the plenary session of the NATO Summit Defense Industry Forum. President von der Leyen, your presence here, together also with Secretary General Mark Rutte and President Zelenskyy, signals our shared determination. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow marks a historic day for NATO, a historic day for our collective security, and a historic day for our defense industry. Within the next 24 hours, we expect all 32 NATO allies to agree on the 5% The Hague Defense Investment Pledge. This week's events in the Middle East have only underscored the growing instability in the world and the urgent need to strengthen our defense and scale up our defense industry. Now is the time to deliver. The 2025 NATO Summit puts the spotlight on world leaders. But NATO's true strength lies beyond these walls, in the armed forces of 32 nations, the men and women who stand ready every day to defend our freedom. But they can only fly, navigate, drive, and fight with the right equipment, weapon systems, and real capabilities. It is real delivery that counts. And that responsibility lies with us, governments and industry. It's our job to move from pledge to product. The Netherlands aims to punch above its weight through our deliveries to Ukraine, through deep cooperation with Germany in our land forces, and also, for example, at Eindhoven Air Base, where we lead one of NATO's most successful multinational projects, the multi-role tanker transport fleet. Today, we proudly welcome Denmark and Sweden to this project, along with 2 new aircraft on order. You may know the Netherlands for our expertise in water and in water management, from New Orleans to Dubai. But now we are taking that expertise to a new frontier, to the bottom of the ocean. That's why we recently launched CSEC, a coalition of 6 nations, leading companies and researchers to protect the critical infrastructure beneath our oceans. Pipelines, cables, offshore platforms, these are lifelines in today's connected world. That same urgency is what we see in today's forum, with key contracts being signed, turning ambition into real capabilities. The key lies in creating new types of partnerships between government and industry. Not the typical buyer and seller's game, but new partnerships built on trust, transparency, long-term vision, and a shared purpose. And that requires new ways of working. As a Minister of Defense, I face the dilemma of, on the one hand, the need for international cooperation, and on the other hand, the pressure to have our national Dutch industry benefit from our increasing defense budgets. Let's be open about these dilemmas and find solutions to overcome these dilemmas. Let's find smart ways of cooperation that are beneficial to all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, every time that I visit Ukraine, I'm impressed how Ukrainians are leading the way. When I was in the command center in Kharkiv, I saw the military working together with volunteers and with entrepreneurs. Volunteers were looking at big screens, watching live drone images and analyzing data. Military commanders were guiding the soldiers at the front line. Entrepreneurs were working closely together with them to optimize their drones and their technology. This intense collaboration enabled the troops in Kharkiv to adapt their operations every 3 weeks. And this is the only reason why Russia has not been able to capture Kharkiv yet. And let this be a source of inspiration to us. So I say to each of you, CEOs, ministers, commanders, innovators, let's reach out to each other. We need to create much closer and deeper partnerships to protect our security, our freedom, and our way of life. So let's unite, let's innovate, and above all, let's deliver. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Brekelmans. You emphasized strongly the need for strong partnerships and a whole-of-society approach. Mr. Brekelmans, I invite you to stay with us for a minute, and can I invite Ingrid Thijssen to the stage to hand over the ambition statement, the industry statement, on behalf of various communities of industry. And I would like to now invite the Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte, to the stage.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Welcome home, Mr. Secretary General.
Absolutely.
And now we have the official handover of the ambition statement.
Yes, and that's exactly what this is. An ambition statement from the North American and European business community.
Yeah.
So it says, in short, that we are, of course, really ready to continue to contribute to the security of NATO. And therefore, I'm really proud to present this to you on behalf of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, Business Europe, the US Chamber of Commerce, and of course, my own Confederation of Netherlands Industry and Employers.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
There you go.
So much. This is huge. Great. Thank you. Now, of course, I will keep this the rest of the day. It's very easy to...
Put it on your back, maybe.
Yeah, we can put it... Yeah.
We will make a miniature version of this for you,
exactly.
so you can carry it with you all the time.
I put it here, that's maybe...
Thank you very much, Ingrid Thijssen, for handing over this statement. Thank you very much, Minister Brekelmans. Mr. Secretary General, can I invite you to address the forum?
Yeah. Well, thank you for that special moment, Ingrid, and thank you for those inspiring words, Minister Brekelmans, dear Ruben. And thank you to everybody involved in organizing this important forum. At the Dutch Ministries of Defense and Foreign Affairs, the Confederation of Netherlands Industry and Employers, and of course my wonderful colleagues at NATO. And it's also a pleasure, as always, to be here with my good friend Ursula von der Leyen. There is an ancient Roman saying, if you want peace, prepare for war. It's a simple idea. Make your defenses so strong that no one dares to attack you. Today, NATO's military edge is being aggressively challenged by a rapidly rearming Russia, backed by Chinese technology and armed with Iranian and North Korean weapons. We need to unite, innovate and deliver, and that's exactly what this forum is all about. Across the alliance, we have opened hundreds of new production lines and expanded existing ones. We are now on course to produce more ships, more planes and ammunition than we have done in decades. And NATO is using its unique power to drive demand, increase cooperation and enhance innovation. Just moments ago, we brought allies together to sign another set of important multinational projects. This includes establishing NATO innovation ranges to better integrate technology into our armed forces. And another project to secure the supply chain of defense critical raw materials. We also agreed to expand our multinational multi-role air tanker transport fleet. As you mentioned, Minister Brekelmans, dear Ruben, this is a brilliant example of NATO working together with the European Union to deliver world-class air-to-air refueling, transport and medical evacuation capabilities. When it comes to our partners, I'm delighted that we are also joined by our friends from the Indo-Pacific and Ukraine, the source of so much of today's innovation and cutting-edge capabilities. And I welcome the fact, dear Ursula, that Europe is really stepping up. The Readiness 2030 plan promises to unleash up to 800 billion euros for defense. There's no defense without a strong defense industry. And there's no European security without a strong transatlantic bond. So we need to bring down barriers and encourage truly transatlantic defense cooperation. Only Europe and North America together can rise up and meet the challenge. And of course, this includes working with Ukraine, an industrial and innovation powerhouse. And let me welcome the news out of London yesterday of a massive British investment in Ukraine's defense industry, plugging Ukraine's drone producers directly into the British industrial base. This is all great, but we need to do more, we need to do it better and together, and we need to do it now. It is simply unthinkable that Russia, with an economy 25 times smaller than NATO's, should be able to outproduce and outgun us. We must spend more to prevent war. We must win this new war of production. That's what this summit is all about. Allies have agreed an unprecedented uplift in our capability targets. So we now know exactly what forces, resources and capabilities each ally needs to provide. This will require a quantum leap in our collective defense. But I know that when there is a will, our world-class industries and entrepreneurs will find a way. This will also require bold decisions from our political leaders. And that's what we will do at the summit tomorrow, with an ambitious new defense investment plan to spend 5% of GDP for defense. This will mean a huge defense dividend, an engine of growth for our economies, driving literally millions of jobs on both sides of the Atlantic. NATO's leaders are about to take an historic step to provide the resources necessary for strong defense. And now it's up to industry to deliver, and yes, to deliver. So let's get to work. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. Thank you for emphasizing the urgency of the challenge, but also that we can actually achieve the challenge of transatlantic partnership, the stronger role of the EU, the partnership with Ukraine. Thank you so much. And I would now please warmly welcome Her Excellency Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission, to join us on stage for her keynote speech.
Thank you. Secretary General, dear Mark, Minister Brekelmans, thank you, first of all, for bringing us together here in The Hague. Ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear representatives of the defense industries, I'm so grateful for this opportunity to exchange with you. Because we all know that the future of Europe, yes, is being written on the front line in Ukraine, but not only. It is also being written in your factories. In record time, you have managed to open new lines and step up production. You're adapting to the new reality of a full-scale war right here on European soil. And just like your industry, all of Europe is facing a changing international landscape. As we've just heard, rightly so, the security architecture that we relied on for decades can no longer be taken for granted. It is a once-in-a-generation tectonic shift. But in recent months, Europe has taken action. Action that seemed unthinkable just a year ago. We set up the Rearm Europe plan to mobilize indeed 650 billion euros in defense investment over the next 4 years. And in addition, in just 4 months, we created a new financial instrument, we call it SAFE, with 150 billion euros in loans for joint procurement. So overall, as you said, Readiness 2030, 800 billion euros over the next 4 years to be invested in defense. Last week, I think also important, we proposed a simplification omnibus to radically simplify and thus speed up our defense investment. And we signed by now 8 defense and security partnerships with countries across the world, the latest of them actually yesterday with Canada. The Europe of defense has finally awakened. Tomorrow, the summit will set indeed historic new spending targets for NATO allies. But how we invest is just as important as how much we invest. Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine has changed warfare. On the one hand, it has consumed more hardware than any other war. But on the other hand, battles have been won and lost because of software, jamming systems, and artificial intelligence. So as we replenish our stocks, we must also modernize our legacy systems and cater for new technological needs. This is vital for credible deterrence, and the European Union has an important role to play here. While NATO sets the standards and the capability targets for allies, our union can help connect the dots between different industries, between civilian and military, and between NATO and non-NATO countries. And let me set out 3 examples where I think our union's contribution is essential. The first one, we can help bridge the gap between primes and startups. The war in Ukraine has shown how important this is. Tech startups can offer countless solutions to challenges that emerge instantly on the battlefield. And this is why we have set up a Defense Innovation Office in Kyiv, because we want to learn from Ukrainians' battlefield experience. But innovative startups inside our union can also play an important role. Since the start of the war, investment in European defense tech startups has increased by 500%. But we still lack funding for the critical stage from the startup to the scale-up. We must get better at this. We lose too many startups at the beginning. Our startups must be able to grow and to grow here in the European single market. We need to identify potential unicorns proactively and channel more capital towards them, both from public and private investors. Our continent is home to so many innovators and pioneers. They must be able to find what they need to thrive right here in Europe. My second point, we must build more bridges between civilian and military. Many critical components of 21st century defense are, as we all know, dual use. Chips, cloud services, software, satellite, artificial intelligence, you just name it. Our defense industry needs seamless access to the high end of these vital technologies. But today, dual-use projects are often not allowed to run on civilian platforms. We have to change this. We will allow dual-use projects to access our new AI gigafactories with their unparalleled computational power. And the same goes for our European Innovation Council Fund for startups. We will seek this kind of synergy across the board. We must better connect our tech industry with our defense industrial base. And my third point, finally. Today, we are asking the defense industry to deliver, as you've said, to deliver at speed and at scale. But I also know, this is your responsibility, this is your task, but we also know that we have to do homework, that we have to create conducive, right conditions for this to happen. And there, for instance, our safe loans, with them we incentivize joint procurement and long-term contracts. This is a long-standing ask of your side. This will give you the predictability you need to scale up production. And importantly, SAFE is open not only to our union's member states, but also to candidate countries, so future members like Ukraine. And it is open to our defense and security partners, like the UK or Japan, like Norway or South Korea. And yesterday, indeed, we signed the Security and Defense Partnership with Canada. We are also clarifying our rules for cross-border transfers of defense products and multinational industrial collaboration. This is the way to speed up and scale up, not in isolation, but together with our most trusted friends. Ladies and gentlemen, we know that Russia will be capable of testing our mutual defense commitments within the next 5 years. By 2030, Europe must have everything it needs for credible deterrence. This is what we call Readiness 2030. But this requires a new mindset for all of us. We must be ready to leave our comfort zone. We must be ready to explore new ways how to do things, bringing together the tech and the defense, the civilian and the military in Europe and, of course, beyond the European Union. I'm deeply convinced, with the right mindset, we can deter everyone who seeks to do harm to us. For a stronger NATO and a stronger and safer Europe, I thank you for this opportunity to engage with you. Long live Europe, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President von der Leyen, for emphasizing the substantial role of the EU on security, the substantial support for Ukraine, and the substantial role in scaling up defense production. We will now have a panel on EU-NATO synergies, and it will be moderated by Monica Sidianho, Director of the Klingendahl Institute for International Relations.
Thank you, Koen. And Your Excellencies, thank you so much for your clear and very concrete directions in your speeches. Having the leadership of the EU and NATO side by side on this platform is a very clear political signal. So, Madam President, why is it so important that your organizations work together?
So, we've spoken about it many times, looking at this room. Let's take the perspective of a member state or an ally. Every country has one single set of forces. And then it's a political decision to send them into NATO operations or European Union missions, United Nations missions, or the coalitions of the willing. So from this angle on, one single set of forces, it's of utmost importance that we work very, very closely together, that in any kind of theaters, these forces can work together and interoperability is given. Everyone here in the room knows how important interoperability is, and that it's not so easy to make it happen with the industrial structure that we had so far. So this is something where we really have to work on. The second reason why it is so important that we work together is that the modern hybrid threats do not differentiate between external and internal security or threats. So whether it is cyber attacks or it is the sabotage we see, for example, in our infrastructure, but also the traditional warfare, but also the electronic warfare that we see, we have to work extremely closely together to make sure that we are able to deter these threats and to work against them. So 2 good reasons why NATO and the European Union should work closely together, not to speak of military mobility. All these topics play a big role. I was just mentioning the omnibus, so the simplification in our rules. For example, permitting rules, you know how important that is and how cumbersome sometimes the permitting process is. Now we change this, we reduce the obligation, the permitting process, we reduce the time for permitting. Sounds very technical, is of crucial importance for you. And this is a European Union responsibility, but of course it helps us, but it also helps you. Absolutely. So we are as one. Yeah.
So we know the why, and you have stressed the importance of NATO-EU cooperation for years. How have the organizations stepped up this cooperation more recently?
Well, of course, for NATO, the EU is our essential partner. There's no doubt. And when I came into this office in October, one of the first things I did was grab the phone and call the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, and we had lunch. And basically we said, we have to make sure that this works. Because there are risks. Let's be honest. The EU is an organization based on unanimity in many cases. NATO is completely based on unanimity. So you need the 27 in the EU, the 32 in NATO, to come to agreements. And it is not always easy, and then sometimes that creeps into the relations between the officials of both organizations. We said that will never happen. If there is a problem emerging, then we will grab the phone and we will only hang up when we have solved this, and even a comfort break is not on the cards. So that has not happened so far. And why is this important? For all the reasons Ursula was mentioning here. And let me just add, the European Union has this huge soft power of bringing together countries and industries, helping to build a defense industrial base. NATO, of course, focusing very much on the hard stuff of capabilities and standardization. And this is a total fit. And the good thing is, with you at the helm of the Commission, with Andrus in the Commission, with Kaja Kallas, with Antonio Costa, we have people now in the senior leadership in the EU who all have a background to understand why this is important. Next to me is sitting the former defense minister of Germany. So, I mean, you don't have to explain to her why this is important.
Indeed, I sat for 5 years in NATO sessions.
Exactly.
And the good part is what you just rightly so said. Excellent cooperation starts with the leadership. So you know the European Union by heart too.
111 summits, I would say.
Wow. That's amazing. The fact that you are coming to our college, that you are inviting commissioners to the NAC speaks volumes. And indeed, I want to emphasize here in the room, because I have this NATO experience, it is, of course, guaranteed that with the push in the defense industrial base and the additional funding that we're supplying, I'm fully aware of the fact that we have to look at the identified capability gaps of NATO. And of course, we have to live up to the norms and standards of NATO. It would be completely crazy if we created different worlds. We know already how difficult it is to tackle the fragmentation we have today. So we have to even be better in not having too much divided and fragmented production lines. But because of this knowledge, it is for us essential that we fully align to these NATO standards and norms, for example, or the gap analysis, because this is only how we then create capabilities, military capabilities, that are fit for one single set of forces.
Can I add one thing? What this President of the Commission is doing, one of her first visits was to Turkey. You were able to come to a new deal with the United Kingdom. You were investing in relationships with Norway, of course, with the United States. You and the President of the United States know each other very well. And that all helps, because the EU is 23 of the 32 NATO allies. 29 NATO allies are outside the European Union. But by the fact that this President of the Commission is investing in all those relations, makes it also easier for me internally to get this done, and therefore make use of that combination of power.
That's an important point indeed. Sorry, we take...
No, you can...
take over.
I like the enthusiasm, yeah.
But as Mark said, we have developed this security and defense partnership agreements. For example, with the UK, that was the first one, with Norway, also with Japan and South Korea, and yesterday with Canada. So through UK, Norway, and Canada, of course, comes also NATO mindset into the security and defense partnership that we have in the European Union. And you hear from my words how close we are and how much we work and working together to having the defense posture that is necessary, while knowing that we're different entities, but we know where the adversaries are. We know that we face a common threat. And we know that the adversaries do not differentiate between NATO and the European Union. They have their strategic goals, and we have to deter that.
Yeah, the EU adapts to the geopolitical context. And maybe more specific to this defense industry forum, what more could be done to drive innovation and industrial production?
So, innovation, if you look at the situation at the moment being with Russia's war in Ukraine, I must say, like all of you here in the room, I am deeply impressed how Ukraine, while fighting a war for their survival, has developed a defense industry, drones and ballistic missiles from scratch, because there was nothing 3.5 years ago. And this while fighting a war. And of course, they are extremely innovative. And they explain to me, and I think also to all the others of you, they have learned, then Russia has learned. They have learned, Russia has learned. They have learned, Russia has learned. So they are, I think, the most modern what drones is concerned worldwide at the moment being, but Russia also has this knowledge. We should not underestimate that. So therefore, first point, our innovation office in Kyiv is there that we learn from Kyiv what it's all about. That's one part. Then in general, we have brilliant startups. We have talented people, fantastic minds here in the European Union with super startups. But then we see that this scaling up is difficult. Here in the European Union, it's mostly access to capital and sometimes cumbersome procedures in the single market that is not single enough, but fragmented. So what we do at the moment, BIG, specifically create, we call it the Savings and Investment Union, which is a deep and liquid capital market essential for our startups. And to create for innovative startups a so-called 28th regime, so that they have one single regime, legal regime to look at when they want to grow and scale up in the European Union. And the third point is indeed the partnerships we were just addressing. These partnerships, of course, are also important for the strategic depth we need. So these are topics or these are work strands that you can use to boost innovation.
Thank you for those clear examples. And Mr. Secretary General, what main barriers do you see? And how could the organizations cooperate to optimize?
Yeah, well, what I've learned over the years is NATO and the EU are difficult beasts because you have unanimity, you have many different points of view. So perfection is not to be achieved, because for perfection you need too much time and nothing will happen in the meantime. So I think what we are doing now is working together in the spirit of keeping speed, the better not being the enemy of good. And when it comes, for example, to developing this whole issue of the defense industrial base, and within that, the issue of innovation, the fact that we have this experience between U4 and K4 in the Western Balkans. So we know how NATO and the EU can closely work together. The same is now the case in Kyiv. We are really working very closely together, almost as one team, where we have the command in Wiesbaden, of course, also working for Ukraine. We have our team in Ukraine. We have the EU team in Ukraine. And what we try to do is to make sure that this is all working as one, and having not too many official stuff going on and Mr. So-and-so and Excellency this. Keep it practical, keep it going, and know that perfection will never be there, because you will always have allies in NATO or member states in the EU who will try to slow it down a bit. But then you have to make sure that you work on the 80-90% of the countries who really want to speed up. Spend your time there. That's much more efficient than spend all your time on the one or two laggards.
That's the spirit. Madam President, Mr. Secretary General, thank you for your guidance and success in the days to come.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. We go out or
I have no idea. I have no idea. I think we go out. We now go out. Yeah, we go out? Okay.
Oh, is Zelenskyy coming?
He's coming.
We stay here?
Come on,
Please.
We stay here.
Yeah.
Nu zeker.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. I think this forum and the way you engage with each other indicates how much progress we have achieved in bringing the NATO alliance and Europe together. And I think that's to the benefit, of course, of the alliance. It's to the benefit of Europe, and it also is to the benefit of Ukraine. And I think, Madam President, you rightly talked about the fact that we were all woken up by the innovation that Ukraine has been able to bring to the battlefield, which was quite impressive. Every time we visit Ukraine, we see in 3 months things have changed. And I think it has woken up everybody here that it's important to support Ukraine, but also it's important to continue our own innovation. We have woken up from a deep sleep, and I think this room is part of that new movement to basically bring the innovation to NATO as well and to the EU. So we're very grateful for this display of cooperation. And we are now waiting for our next guest. Excellent. So it will take another minute for our next guest to join us. And of course, this afternoon, we will have several panels where we focus on some of the issues that you have discussed, including on financing, including how to achieve the capability targets. And we will also talk to the military side of NATO and talk about how all of this, all of what is going to happen tomorrow during the summit will help us basically bring closer the capacities and the capabilities we need in order to make sure that NATO is the alliance that is effectively deterring any aggression. So I think we have a program that will really help foster this partnership that we're looking for, the partnership between governments, the partnership between governments and the private sector, and also, of course, between the knowledge institutes that we now fully engage. So thank you very much for, and we will take another minute. And it's the job. It's the job, and it's the mission that we need to do. So, but thank you very much for being here. Give us 30 seconds or so, and we will be back with you, and we will continue our program. Can I please welcome to the stage, it's an honor to announce President Zelenskyy, and can I ask the Secretary General and the President of the European Commission to come to the stage. Maybe you can stand over here and allow the photographers.
No.
Now it is your one. So, and now?
Photo or video?
But you have a whole speech there.
I think the lectern is yours.
So I will go?
You will go. And
Mr. President, can I invite you to address the room?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we go off again.
Thank you. That's all. Thank you so much for being here. Please.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you for invitation. Thank you again, Mark. Thank you, Ursula, Minister, and all the participants. And thanks to Netherlands for hosting us. Thank you so much. So, dear friends, thank you all of your attention to Ukraine and to our joint defense capabilities. The key word here is, I think, is joint. We all understand that the source of this war and the long-term threat to the European way of life is Russia. But in reality, we are not just facing Russia alone. We are facing a network of state and non-state actors that are serving the cause of aggression. This network includes Russia, North Korea, the current regime in Iran, Chinese companies, and many schemes across the world that help produce weapons and carry out operations against our country. our people, and our Europe. Only together can we counter this. And the best way to do it is to hit the core of this aggression hard and to break every link that connects Russia with its accomplices. That's why our priorities are clear. Our joint defense production and real restrictions on cooperation with Russia through sanctions and other restrictive measures. Thank you to everyone who's helping us with this. Now the key points for today about defense production. First, investment and technology. Our defense production potential has surpassed $35 billion. This includes nearly 1,000 types of products, from artillery and traditional armed vehicles to advanced drones of, by the way, of all types and missiles. But around 40% of this potential lacks proper funding. It's true. That's a problem. For example, we can produce over 8 million drones of different types each year, but the financing allows for far fewer. At the same time, Russia is using not only its oil revenues for defense, but also the resources of regimes like North Korea and Iran, and Russia's corrupt connections in other countries. So our united solidarity is the best answer to Russia's war network. And we are open to various forms of cooperation in the defense sector, including sharing our expertise and achievements with those who help the most. And we must lead in the drone race, both in strike drones and interceptors, and keep moving forward in producing traditional weapons, taking into account all the lessons learned in this long war. Please increase your investments in Ukraine in joint weapons production. And all the weapons we produce become part of a new, stronger European defense and security system. In this context, we welcome the European initiative, Security Action for Europe, which includes plans to provide up to 150 billion euro to develop the defense industry. And we call for this program to also be actively used as an extra source of support for our shared security. And it's important to keep in mind that Ukraine is an equal partner to this program, meaning that ensuring security is our common cause. Second, long-term resilience of our countries. There are no signs that Putin wants to stop this war. Russia rejects all peace proposals, including those from the United States of America. Putin only thinks about war. That's a fact. Maybe he connects his own political survival with his ability to keep killing. So long as he kills, he lives. And our intelligence confirmed this. Russia is even planning new military operations on NATO territory, meaning your countries, and this war is now on in Ukraine, and it's to get prepared, well, to be ready. No doubt we must stop Putin now and in Ukraine, but we have to understand that his objectives reach beyond Ukraine. European countries need to increase defense spending. We believe that 5% of GDP is the right level. A united Europe can create a defense capability that will destroy Russia's illusion that war with Europe could bring it anything. To kill that illusion faster, we must take away Russia's ability to continue this war against Ukraine with impunity. It's better to hold Russia back where it's already stuck. And I thank every country, and I thank every leader who has already decided to commit part of their national defense spending to supporting Ukraine. If every European country commits at least 0.25% of its GDP for these, and we are thankful to those countries who commit more, like Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, and such big commitment like from Germany. And something quite reasonable, the chances for peace in Europe will grow. Third, please make sure your countries and your companies are not helping Russia or its bodies in any way. This is crucial, really. And there is no significant Russian weapon today that is produced without components, without equipment or materials from other countries, sadly, including some from Europe and NATO. Yes, of course. And this must stop. Such components can be found in every Russian missile, in most of their drones, and in military vehicles. And it's not just China. Also, Taiwan, and some of these parts come from the European countries and from the United States, and every single component or machine tool delivered to Russia's defense sector helps prolong the war and is a crime against peace. Every scheme that helps them build Shahed drones or any other tools of killing is not just aiding a war against us, it's a threat to you and to the way of life that millions in our countries value deeply. Please, let's make sure that our defense potential and the potential of our partners works for our peace, not for Russia's madness. Thank you. Slava Ukraini. Thank you so much.
No, I'm not standing up. Just stand there. Just stay down.
So, good afternoon. It's so good to have this opportunity, Volodymyr, to sit down with the EU leadership and NATO to discuss with you. Again, what we are seeing at this moment is that European and Canadian partners, they are now basically ramping up the support for Ukraine. Already over 35 billion euros pledged this year. That's even before we reach half year on the 1st of July, and last year it was for the full year a little bit over 50 billion. So we can safely assume that the total amount for 2025 will be higher than in 2024. This shows you that the support for Ukraine is ongoing. Tomorrow we will have a summit with NATO leaders, and I can also safely predict that the support for Ukraine going forward, closely linked to the defense spending of NATO countries, will be there and will also make sure that, of course, we hope the war will end soon. But if it takes more time, then you have to support in terms of military capabilities, but also when the peace comes or a long-term ceasefire, that you are so strong that Vladimir Putin will never ever again try to capture 1 square mile/kilometer of Ukraine. And what we will today is coordinate closely between the EU and NATO to make sure that when it comes to all the practical support, we do the max. So again, thank you for being here, and to the colleagues from the European Commission, European Council, really an honor to host you all here in this building. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear Mark. Again, thank you for your invitation, your leadership, and President Coleman. Thank you very much, dear Ursula, dear Antonio. So such a great opportunity to be in NATO Summit in Netherlands, and for us, what is the most important, that the unity of NATO countries and all Europe and European Union, and you see this unity around Ukraine. I think this is the most important thing. After this is always the way to strengthen Ukraine, to give us strong support, to help our people and families who are abroad to live, and to help to our Ukrainians who are in Ukraine to survive. And I'm thankful for your big union and big unity. Thanks for air defense, additional military packages, and thank you that you stay with us, not just stay strong. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mark, for gathering us here today, Ursula and I, with Volodymyr. Russian invasion of Ukraine remains a major threat for global peace in the world, because this invasion is undermining the international rules-based order, because Russia is an intercontinental country stressing Europe, but also the Pacific region, and because Russia is acting in alliance with countries like North Korea or Iran. Secondly, a just and lasting peace in Ukraine is urgent. And I'm deeply disappointed that Russia is not engaging with the efforts for President Trump to achieve a just and lasting peace. While President Zelenskyy has already agreed on unconditional ceasefire, Russia not only doesn't agree, but even are increasing the intensity of their aggression to Ukraine. From our part, we will continue to give full support to Ukraine and to continue to put pressure on Russia through sanctions. And the 18th package of sanctions is underway. Finally, we are looking forward for our common future as Ukraine, entire member of the European Union. I'm very happy with the recent assessment of the European Commission about your impressive work to deliver on reforms in such difficult situations, and for sure we are reached the conditions to move forward the ongoing negotiation process to accession to the European Union. Thank you.
So I can add, my dear friend Volodymyr, you're here among friends. And we stand by Ukraine from the very first day on, and you can count on us also for the future. We have just discussed how important it is for Ukraine to invest in the extraordinary, agile and innovative Ukrainian defense industry. Therefore, we have designed a funding program of 150 billion euros, we call it SAFE, where member states, but also Ukraine and other partners, can take these loans to invest in the Ukraine defense industry, which has shown its ability to innovate, to produce fast and reliably, at scale. We can learn a lot from you, what that is concerned, but in this way we can support you also for the survival of Ukraine. Secondly, of course, there's constant financial support to Ukraine because we know you're fighting a war that is also protecting our values and our principles. And thirdly, indeed, we have to put pressure on President Putin that he comes to the negotiation table and that he's engaging seriously in negotiations for a just and lasting peace. Therefore, the 18th sanctions package is a biting one, is a hard one. I know that our G7 friends will follow suit with their sanctions. So all this shows you are among friends, you can count on us, we stand by your side.
Good. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Ready to leave? 10 minutes.